This is the video for lesson 5.3, adding and subtracting unlike fractions. So to add or subtract unlike fractions, which is fractions with different denominators, we're going to rename the fractions using the LCD. Okay, that's the least common denominator. And then we're going to continue as we did yesterday with our like fractions. So our steps: find the LCD, which is the least common multiple of the denominators. We're going to change one or both fractions so the LCD is the new denominator. Remember, we say whatever you multiply the old denominator by, you need to do the same to the numerator. We're going to add our numerators, we're going to keep our new denominator, and then we're going to simplify. Okay, I like to do mine vertically. You don't need to, but I find it helps me organize the problem a little bit better. So we're doing 5/12 plus 1/3. Okay, we need to find a number that both 12 and 3 go into, and the answer is 12. Remember, if you don't see it, you can always do the work on the side to find your LCD. But this one's not that bad. So 5/12, well, that's just going to stay the same because we already have our denominator of 12. We have to change 1/3 to something over 12. Well, 3 times 4 gives me 12. So I need to do 1 times 4, and I get 4. So really, I am adding 5/12 and 4/12. That's going to give me 9/12, and if we divide a 3 out from our numerator and our denominator, we get 3/4. Okay, negative 5/6 minus 7/9. Okay, and before I start trying to find a new denominator, we should hopefully realize that when we have a negative and then minus something, we should change this to plus the negative. So really, once I figure out my new fractions, I'm going to be adding those numerators together, and I'm going to have a negative answer. Okay, so we need to find a number that both 6 and 9 go into, and the smallest one would be 18. So 6 times 3 gives me 18, so 5 times 3 is 15. So we have negative 15 over 18. For our bottom fraction, 9 times 2 gives me 18. So 7 times 2 gives me 14. And we're adding a negative 14 over 18. So I have negative 15 over 18 plus a negative 14 over 18. Add your numerators together. So negative 29 over 18. But we have to change it into a mixed number, so 18 goes into 29 once, and it's negative, so negative 1. And there'd be 11 left over, so 11 over 18. So negative 1 and 11 over 18. Okay. How about you try the 2 checkpoint questions? Okay, remember you need to find a new common denominator. And then once you are ready, hit play again. Okay, so we have negative 2/3, and we're adding 1/4. A common denominator would be 12. 3 times 4 gives me 12, so 2 times 4 gives me 8, but it's negative. 4 times 3 gives me 12. 1 times 3 gives me 3. Okay, so I have negative 8 plus 3 over 12. Add my numerators, but really subtract my two numbers, take the sign of the bigger one, and I get negative 5 over 12. In number 2, my common denominator would be 10. So my first fraction stays the same. 5 times 2 gives me 10, so 4 times 2 gives me 8. So really I have 3/10 minus 8/10. So 3 minus 8, the numerators, over 10. This would be plus a negative. So I get negative 5/10, which equals negative 1/2. Let's flip our paper over And let's try to incorporate mixed numbers. Okay, we have two different methods, remember. First method, improper fractions. So let's try it. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 plus 2 is 22. But it's negative, so negative 22 fifths. Plus, and actually I'm going to change that. I'm going to write it vertically. 2 times 11 is 22. Plus 6 is 28. So 28 elevenths. But once again, it's negative. The LCD would be 55. Okay, 5 times 11 gives me 55. And 22 times 11. Now some of us have discussed the trick. And the trick is when you're multiplying by 11, you take your first number, you take your last number, and then you add those two numbers together and stick it in the middle. So we get negative 242 over 55. Here, we need to multiply it by 5. So you have to multiply our numerator by 5. 8 times 5 is 40, so we write down our 0, carry the 4 in our head. 5 times 2 is 10, but plus the 4 is 140. So we're going to add. I'm going to highlight it. So negative 242 over 55. We're adding a negative 140 over 55, which means we add our two numerators together. So 2 plus 0 is 2. 4 plus 4 is 8. 2 plus 1 is 3. So negative 382 over 55. Oh boy. Let's see. It's going to take a little guess and check here. So 55, we'll say, times 7. 5 times 7 is 35. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 3 is 38. So it appears that times 7 is just a little bit too big. So it's going to be times 6. 5 times 6 is 30. 30 plus 3 is 33. So it's going to be negative 6, we said. Goes into it 6 times. That would be 330. We have 382, so there'd be 52 left over. So 52 out of 55. If we did it the other way, two sets of parentheses with the plus in the middle, we'd have negative 4 and negative 2 fifths. We'd have a negative 2 and a negative 6 elevenths. And our operation is plus. So negative 4 plus negative 2 is negative 6. And then we'd have to find a common denominator here. Since we already did it kind of, I'm not going to quite go into all the details. But 5 times 11 would be 55, so 2 times 11 is 22, and it's negative. 11 times 5 gives you 55. 6 times 5 gives you 30, and it's negative. This here is negative 52 over 55 because we add our numerators together. And since we end up with a negative number and a negative fraction, we are allowed to just squish them together at the end. Okay, let's do subtracting mixed numbers. Improper fraction way. 10 times 5 is 50, plus 1 is 51 over 5. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 is 23, so 23 over 4. The LCD would be 20. My old denominator was 5. You have to multiply it by 4. So we multiply our numerator by 4, which gives us 204. We multiply our denominator here by 5. So multiply our numerator by 5. That gives us 115. So we have 204 minus 115 over 20. want to do it on the side. Can't do 4 minus 5, so we borrow, but we can't borrow from 0, so we borrow from the 2. 2 becomes a 1, 0 becomes a 10. Now we can borrow from the 10 becomes a 9, the 4 becomes a 14. 14 minus 5 is 9, 9 minus 1 is 8, 1 minus 1 is 0. So it equals 89 over 20. 20 goes into 89 4 times with 9 left over. So 4 and 9/20. If we were to split it up, we'd have 10 and 1/5. We'd have 5 and 3/4. And we are subtracting. So 10 minus 5 gives us 5. Bring down our plus. We need to find LCD here. Still going to be 20. 5 times 4 gave us 20, so 1 times 4 gives us 4. 4 times 5 gives us 20, so 3 times 5 gives us 15. So here we have 5 plus, and then 4/20 minus 15/20. This would be like plus and negative. And 4 plus a negative 15 is a negative 11 over 20. But here's the problem. We have a positive number and a negative fraction. Okay, so we can't just squish them together. So we need to figure out how we can combine these two together. What we are allowed to do is, let's say we need something to add with these 20ths. So let's take 1 away from the 5. Okay. I need something with 20ths. So if I take 1 away from the 5, I end up with 4. And I need this, my fraction I'm creating right here, to also still get this whole thing to equal 5. Well, I can make this 20/20. Okay, because 20/20 is 1, which means altogether this first thing still equals 5. So I didn't change its value. So I'll go through that one more time. I knew I needed a denominator of 20, so I made a denominator 20. I took 1 away from the 5 to make it 4, but to keep this value the same, I just took the denominator and put it in the numerator. So now I can combine 20/20 and negative 11/20. 20 plus negative 11 is 9. So I have 4 and 9/20, and now I'm allowed to squish those together since they're both positive. Okay, so this was one of the slightly trickier scenarios where when we do the option 2, we ended up with a positive number but a negative fraction. We had to figure out, okay, well, how are we really going to combine these two? Okay. I want you to try 3 and 4. So pause the video, and then when you are done, press play again. Okay, method 1, improper fractions. So 3 times 9 is 27, plus 5 is 32 over 9. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13, so 13 over 6. LCD is 18. So times 2. Times 2, we get 64. Times 3, we get 39. So we have 64/18 plus 39/18. That would be 103/18. So you gotta figure out how many times 18 goes into 103. We'll say 7. Let's see. 8 times 7 is 56. Ooh, that was way too big. What was I doing? Try 5. 8 times 5 is 40. That would be 90. So I think that's enough. So I get 5. And then that would be, there's 10 more to get to 100, and then 3 more to get to 103. So 13/18. If I do it the other way, erase my work right there. Split it up with a plus in the middle. We get 3 and 5/9, 2 and 1/6. We're adding, so I get 5 here. LCD would be 18. 9 times 2 is 18, so 5 times 2 is 10. 6 times 3 is 18, so 1 times 3 is 3. So I get 13/18 there, which equals 5 and 13/18. Improper fraction way for number 4. 5 times 11 is 55, plus 4 is 59, so 59/11, minus 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8, so 8/3. So LCD would be 33 times 3 times 3. 9 times 3 is 27, carry the 2. 5 times 3 is 15, plus the 2 is 17, so, oops, that's not negative. So 177 over 33, times 11, we get 88. So 177 over 33 minus 88 over 33. Okay, need to borrow. 17 minus 8 is 9. Can't do 6 minus 8. We borrow again. 16 minus 8 is 8. So we get 89/33, which would be twice. Okay, that would be 66. So 89 minus 66 means there are 23 left over. So 2 and 23 over 33. Other way, we have 5 and 4/11, 2 and 2/3, and we are subtracting. So 5 minus 2 is 3. We're going to get our LCD still. 11 times 3 is 33, so 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 11 is 33. 2 times 11 is 22. So 3 plus 12 minus 22 is negative 10/33, but ooh, can't combine them. So we're making this, we gotta split this up. 2, and we need 30/3. So 2 and 33/33. And now I can say, well, let's add my fractions together. 33 plus a negative 10 is 23/33, and we have 2 also. Final example. We have a over 2 minus a over 6. Our LCD is 6, so this one's going to stay the same. Here, we are multiplying it by 3, which means we multiply our numerator by 3, and we end up with 3a. So we're doing 3a over 6 minus a over 6. Well, that would be 3a minus a, subtract the a's, over 6. Remember, there's that invisible 1 in front of that a. So we get 2a over 6. We need to divide out a 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So on top, we have a. On the bottom, we have 3. Okay, that is it for lesson 5-3. Okay, make sure if you have any questions, you are writing them down so we can talk about them tomorrow.